it's Rachel Wells, and today I'm going live and I'm doing a book review of this book right here. Oops. It's called Black, I always get this mixed up, you know, Black Labor, White Wealth. I'm about to say Black Wealth, White Labor. Oh my days. Anyway, sorry, that was funny. Okay, for those of you who don't know, I'm doing a financial education, financial leadership course at home, which my mom put me on. It's really good because it's teaching me to be independent, to set up my own business, which I'm getting into as well, and just give me the skills, the tools, and the knowledge that I'll need to set up my own business, specifically as a Black woman. So this book is one of the first books I bought for this course, called Black Labor, White Wealth. And then I've actually finished this book in 3 months. I finished it today officially, and I wrote down a few points which I wanted to bring out. 3 main points which I got from reading this book, which really stood out to me. Now, the first point is that what it mentions, highlights in this book, is that white people copied and stole from Black people, and they copied a lot, and it was quite shocking, I must say. It was quite what's the word? It was quite eye-opening. That's not the word I was looking for, but it was eye-opening reading this book, seeing the kinds of things that white people would steal literally from Black people, in the sense of a lot of the American pop culture, and it was quite shocking to see that that actually comes from Black people. For instance, a lot of the popular music, even country and Western music, which I was surprised to learn actually originated with Black people, and then white people just took it and, you know, as their own twist on it. And then the worst thing was and it was kind of tear-jerking actually to read. I read it today, that for instance, the white people would have their slaves perform for them as entertainers, you know, to do music and sports and stuff, and they would get extra money for it. And the more musically talented a slave was, the higher their price, you know, for bidding, for auction. And so they would get their slaves to perform for them, you know, musical, and they'll be sitting there, white people be sitting there getting entertained, and of course making money from the show. And then eventually, once slavery ended, white people would take Black music, and, you know, which was very soulful and deep with meaning, and then they would make a mockery out of it and make money off it, while at the same time not even paying or attributing any credits or copyright or anything to the original people who actually set this thing up. So basically, they would take songs written by Black people and perform them themselves, and literally they'll make a mockery of it by putting Black faces on them. So they'll paint their faces in Black. I think they're called minstrel shows. They'll paint their faces in Black, pretend to be Black people, and look like they're Black people, are making a mockery of it, singing Black songs, soulful songs with deep with meaning, and making money off doing all these shows all over the world and all over the United States, while not paying the people who originally, you know, the copyright and the royalties did not go to the people who originally put this together. So they just took it and stole it. And then a lot of the popular singers, even in the 1960s, and I was actually shocked to learn that Elvis Presley, a lot of his songs were written by Black people. He didn't write many of them. A lot of rock and roll artists in the late 1900s, they got a lot of their songs from Black people, which are written by Black people, but Black people didn't receive the credit. They got the credit for singing these songs, and no one knows who wrote them. So that was quite shocking. And also, when it comes to not just white people stole a lot, not just when it comes to music and not giving them credits, but also when it comes to education and brain power, they would steal education, not allowing. There are so many acts. I read there was a list of laws and acts against Black people from being allowed to read and write. They weren't allowed to read or write or have access to any educational materials. They were supposed to be kept down in a certain state of society and kept there, like they're being pushed down, not allowed to get any higher. And if by chance a Black person was caught reading, or if by chance a kind white person was caught teaching a Black person to read or write, that white person would be flogged, and that Black person would be dealt with very severely, even killed, because Black people were supposed to be kept down below society. Even Congress didn't even recognize them as human. They'll think about 5/8 of human. So it was quite shocking to read that, and it makes you think, why would someone try to keep someone down and try to steal so much power and so much, you know, knowledge from them? Why not allow them to read and write? And I believe, and from reading this book, it's quite clear that white people were very scared and at the same time very envious of Black people. They didn't like the fact that when they came to Africa, they came to Africa hearing rumors of gold and wealth and all this, really good rumors, and how Black people were so strong, and hence why, they're so good in sports and all this stuff. And so they took it for their advantage and capitalized on it to make lots and lots of money, because, white people couldn't be asked, they were too lazy to, when they came to the New World, they couldn't be asked to set up their own homes and grow food for themselves. So they got other people from another country to do it for them, called Africa, and without being paid, and that's how they made their money. And so I was reading that this book says that, a lot of white Americans today will say, my wealth comes from, my family, generations, or hard work. But in reality, white America's wealth is based on Black labor. That's what this book is talking about. Because if it wasn't for the slave market, if it wasn't for, not just the slave market, but if it wasn't for Black people's songs, their music, which is the basis of a billion dollar industry in the United States, music, Black music, it wasn't for that. If it wasn't for them building all the great state buildings which we see today in America, if it wasn't for that, then America would be very poor. So that's what it's showing, and at the same time didn't receive any credit at all for what they did in America. It's terrible. So that was the first point. Sorry. Second point is that it teaches that the only way to reverse the condition of Black society is by taking the reins in our own hands. By taking the reins in our own hands. We can't depend on other people to do it for us. We have to do it ourselves. A lot of times we look to politicians and people out there to help us and to solve issues. But bear in mind that if they're not of our own culture, then they'll have their own perspective on things. And that's what this book is teaching, that of course they will have a different mindset. They won't be able to see it from our perspective because we're the ones who've been through all of that at the end of the day. They haven't. So there'll be a lot of times if we go to other people to help improve our condition as a Black society, those people will be looking at it from the sense of their own capital gain, what they can get from it. If they can't get anything from it monetary or in any way, then they won't want to be interested in it. Or if they do get an interest in it, you have to be careful because they're doing it for ulterior motives and they have an agenda behind it. So it's very important that if we want to succeed and be successful and financially as Black people, that we have to take the reins in our own hands. And what this man teaches, and it was quite a new concept to me reading it, was he taught vertical growth. Vertical meaning straight, a straight line. So he says wealth has to pass down from generation to generation and from Black business to Black business in a straight line. And I'll explain what I mean by that. There's a startling figure here. He mentioned that $300 billion of Black America's money, disposable income. So once everything is paid for, the basic stuff, the rent and everything's paid for, we have $300 billion of disposable income. That money, unfortunately, gets wasted on things which half the stuff, most of them we don't even need. It gets wasted on watching all these TV shows, gets wasted on going to these shows, on buying all these expensive clothes, wasted on just extra luxuries which we don't need. And a lot of this money goes to not the Black community, but white communities, white businesses. So what he was saying in the book is that we have such a large amount of capital, but we're wasting it. And that's why Black America's condition is not improving. Even since the civil rights movement, Black America's condition has hardly improved, even though now segregation is not legal, but there's still issues when it comes to Black criminals who take up the majority of prisons. And that's because of underemployment and things like that. So Black America's financial condition isn't really improving. And so to improve that, we have to look at our disposable income, think how we're wasting on all these other multi-billion dollar industries, white companies, and not investing it into our own companies and making them grow. Or at least, if we're not going to build our own businesses, at least make sure we hold stock in other white companies so that we have a say as well. So, and it is quite sad that often we have money, once we have disposable income, we just use it up, we just waste it, and our money doesn't grow. But other ethnic groups around the world, Asians and Hispanics, they know that when they have money, a lot of the time as a group I'm talking about, they take it and they invest it, and they have all these companies and businesses in our areas of the world, and they're making money off us, and we're spending our money on them, and we should be spending our money growing our own stuff. So that's really what this book was talking about. And the main synopsis for me of this is that we have a lot of talent and skill and wasted income. We need to put together our talents and all our skills and our wasted income and put it together for the benefit of our society, to benefit ourselves and to leave a long-lasting legacy for many years to come, for children and children's children, to improve our economic conditions. So yeah, overall, this was a really good book. I definitely can't say I regret buying this. It was actually on special offer when I bought it. Not because it was on special offer, but because of the fact that at the time when I bought this book, this is a testimony, when I bought this book, I literally just had enough to buy it. And then some reason when I got to my Amazon basket, the price went down. God miraculously, it removes like a good £5 off the price. I don't know how that happened because it wasn't on special offer. So, you know, I was able to buy this book. And so now I'm going to get the next book, start reading the next book in my financial leadership course, and looking forward to that. Thank you for watching this video, and God bless and take care.